What is up, guys? Waifus here. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 useful arena tips that you may or may not know about. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to say thank you everybody that's supporting me for helping me hit 150 subs within my first 2 weeks of posting content. Even though I've been growing quickly, I noticed checking my analytics that only 20% of the people that watch me are actually subscribed. So smash the fuck out of that like and subscribe button. I can't fucking talk, obviously.
I seen a lot of shit I shouldn't have, but never forgot it though. Brothers on the corner selling crack like it was not a though.
Like and subscribe. One of the things that's always made me successful in Arena is my drop spot. I'm actually in the middle of making a drop spot series on my YouTube. So go to my YouTube channel and check out my playlists. I actually have a playlist for that series. As we all know, if you want to consistently make placement points, you're going to want to have a somewhat low-key drop spot. One of my biggest recommendations is to actually have multiple drop spots that you know like the back of your cock on opposite sides of the map. For example, I like to land at the yacht, retail row, and the Fortilla depending on the bus route. For example, I prefer to land on the yacht over the other 2 spots, but if it's a hot drop, I would much rather go to retail row where there's going to be 2 to 3 people there rather than 4 to 5 people at the yacht. You're better off landing late on the bus at a more crowded POI than landing hot at a less crowded POI because there's more loot at retail row rather than a place like the yacht, which is a low-key area. I also just wanted to mention that retail row is a high-risk, high-reward area, so just be warned before going there. Choosing your drop spot. What most players are going to want to look for is a low-key drop spot. But one thing that a lot of people actually don't realize is that you also want to be looking for a place that is spread out, so you actually have a chance to get a decent amount of loot before fighting if you are contested. And you want your place to have, let's say, 3 times more loot than what you actually need. So for solos, a spot that has enough loot for 3 people to be like fully kitted up. For trios, enough loot for 9 fucking people, for example. Like, this isn't completely necessary. It's just kind of like you want to fucking have enough loot to be able to fight off anybody that contests you, and you don't want like the only fucking shotgun in the area to be picked up by your fucking enemy. And that's why I recommend just fucking listening to me and get yourself a good drop spot with a lot of loot. If you're not really sure where to land, you can actually go to a website called lootlake.info. I'll actually put it in the description if you look down in the description. This website basically shows the current Fortnite map and where every single chest and floor spawn and all that shit is. So if you go through that, you can actually see the best rotation route for your drop spot, and you can just find whole new drop spots that you didn't even know existed. When to W key. Why the fuck am I singing? Most people believe that playing passive is the most consistent way to gain arena points, which in some cases is true, but if you ever want to get into a situation where you need to W key or you want to push somebody because they're low, just follow these rules. Have you ever pushed somebody and it just turns out that the fight just took super long because a person was similar skill level to you, and you eventually ended up dying by storm or even running out of heals later on in the game because of that fight? Well, before you W key somebody, just make sure that you are closer to the zone than they are and try to not get up close until you know that you can most likely kill them. The only other option is have a getaway route such as a launch pad, so you can just get to zone and get in front of the person, because you really don't want the fucking person to get to zone before you, because they can just hold you in and make you take even more storm damage. So yeah, just make sure you're closer to zone than the person that you're pushing so this doesn't fucking happen to you. One thing I want to mention to you guys is this thing called pre-fight damage. Pre-fight damage is basically the amount of damage that you deal before you actually end up W-keying a person. So let's say an example would be Unknown Army shooting somebody in the back for 120 pre-fight damage, and then he pushes up to their box or whatever the fuck they get in and he shits on them. Now that I've explained what pre-fight damage is if you ever shoot at a player and try W-keying them and you get no pre-fight damage at all, and they immediately box up and just sit there waiting for you and they don't play aggressive at all, the best thing that you can probably do in this situation is just disengage, because those fights usually take a long time, especially if you're in like high ranked arena, because these players are going to be better than average, so they can make a fight drag on for as long as they want until they end up running out of mat. One issue with passive players, like My experience of being a passive player and then turning into an aggressive player, I've noticed that passive players tend to cause third parties to happen. The reason why is because a fight will take so long between two passive players or a passive and an aggressive player. So it's just not worth getting into a fight with one of these players unless you know you can kill them quickly. The last thing I want to mention about W King people is if you do shoot at an aggressive player that's confident in their skills and you get no pre-fight damage, they're most likely going to start ramp rushing you or start doing some sort of building technique. My recommendation is just to start spraying the fucking shit out of this person. The more you spray them, the more they know that you mean business and you are also not a fucking vagina. And the more you spray them, the lower the amount of mats that they're going to have, so it just kind of puts you in the lead. When you're spraying out their builds, it kind of puts you in a vulnerable position, so be aware of them shooting back at you. Use utilities. Alright guys, so I know that was fucking cringe, but I mean it. Use your fucking utilities. This means like grenades, stink bombs, fishing poles, launch pads, basically anything that can be used as a tool. I'm going to go over a few scenarios that you could use one of these utilities during arena that could fucking save your life or put you in an advantage. Every one of the items that I just listed are in the game for a fucking reason. They can all be used as multi-tools to do many things such as drain mats, loot, fish, fucking get kills. The mythic grenade launcher can help you rotate. So if you think about it, there's absolutely no fucking reason to not abuse the fuck out of all of those, just like how Serpent AU abused Fortnite with his fucking macros. By far, my favorite utility to use has got to be the decoys. So if you're ever balls deep in a tight situation, just throw a couple of these bad boys down and the fucking dumbasses won't know who to fucking shoot. Them shooting I can't fucking talk guys, so them shooting at the wrong decoy gives you the chance to get a good shot off and shit on their entire universal existence. So if you're interested in I still can't fucking talk, guys. So if you're interested in shitting on somebody's fucking universal existence, use your fucking decoys when you get the chance. The last utility I want to mention as my favorite has got to be grenades. If you ever have a stack of grenades during endgame, just wait until everybody starts spraying each other like a sexy fireman on a magazine cover, and throw them shits like Tom Brady on whoever's being targeted by the whole fucking lobby. Trust me guys, this shit fucking works. I can't make this shit up. Rotation. I can't sing it this time, it's too fucking cringy. If I sang through this entire video, you guys would never let me forget about it. And honestly, there's one person in the comments that's always saying I need to go see a therapist, but who gives a fuck? I make therapists need therapists! I'm sure my amazing viewers know how to make a proper rotation, but I have to cover this either way, because for some fucking reason, nobody in Arena knows how to make a proper fucking rotation. One of the main things that should be on your mind at all times while playing Arena is the zone. If you're outside of zone and it's still early game, just make your rotation early now, because you don't want to get stuck in that long ass storm, because it's honestly a lot more dangerous than endgame storms in some cases. Getting stuck in an early game storm, like deep in an early game storm, will drain you of all of your resources. You won't have the time to get mats, and your loot will probably be scuffed too. I personally like to take edge of zone at all times. I know this is kind of unorthodox, but I actually have a reason behind it. Edge of zone is usually less congested than center zone nowadays, depending on which side of edge you take. So I'll explain this right now. A lot of pros such as Tfue have made it the meta to take center zone, which is a dominant area to be is center zone because the next rotation will be easy. But that's become a norm. Everybody wants to rotate center zone, so you're always going to be running into people going to center zone. So I take the easy route and I go into edge of zone, preferably the area where the zone is moving the slowest or near the ocean, depending on like if it's first zone, just go to the part of the zone where the fucking ocean is. Nobody's gonna be back there. Because you gotta remember, thousands and thousands and thousands of people take pros tips and they try to play just like pros, and that right there is why I don't want to be in center zone anymore. I don't want to be like the average player and listen to the pros because they're usually fucking up. They're fucking up how pros play because they're listening. If you want to become top tier, you have to be different. You have to be the best of the best, but you also have to think differently than the average player. The average player is going to be listening to these fuckers. Don't be like everybody else. You have to be different. Test it out. Go center zone in a Champions League arena match, and you're gonna run into a lot of players because everybody's trying to copy each other. Second and third zone usually spawn near the middle of the last zone. So where you're gonna want to rotate to is where the storm is moving the slowest. Most players are going to be fighting or late rotating on the faster side of zone, therefore making that area more contested. I'll try to throw up a picture on screen real quick of what I mean by fast and slow sides of zone. My take on endgame is to spray, and when I mean spray, I mean a lot. As I said earlier, you want to spray like everybody else, which is like a sexy fireman. Like I'm being fucking serious. A sexy ass fireman. One thing you should be aware of though is if you spray too much, you have to worry about snipers, because there's always going to be that one asshole that's out here sniping everybody that is spraying, which is actually a good strategy to just go for everybody that's peeking too much. The way how I avoid this is to actually not peek over the top of my 1x1, but instead I'll make like a window and hide behind a cone and just spray through that. It's just a little bit extra coverage. It's a little bit more safe than overly peeking on the top of your 1x1. Another good strategy that you should be aware of while playing during endgame is to build a 1x1 out of mats. If you don't know what a 1x1, it's basically just like a box, but it's like it goes upwards. It's like a tunnel that goes upwards, which I'm sure you guys already know about. But yeah, use hard mats such as metal and build 3 stories high at least. This uses a decent amount of mats, but it's worth it because then nobody above, like not very many people are going to be above you. You're going to be kind of at height at all times, and you can just spray on everybody. You kind of have a dominant position. I already mentioned once, but when you are up this high in a 1x1, 3 stories up, 4 stories up, cannot stress enough, do not peek over the top of your 1x1. Don't stand on top of a ramp and look downwards. You can stand on top of a ramp and look outwards to other people that are up high, but don't look downwards, because when you look down when you're that high up, you're actually peeking more than you should be, which in turn can get you targeted and sprayed at. Another strategy that I have during endgame, or just in general if I ever get sprayed at or targeted, is to actually go down and make 2 boxes. And what you want to do is you make 2 boxes and then you go back into your first box because it's stronger than your second box. And there's actually another reason to this. When you make 2 boxes, most people are going to stay in the second box, therefore the people spraying at you are going to target the second box. It's just basically misdirection in a way, like you're just misdirecting people. Rotating during endgame. What the fuck? Alright guys, so rotating during endgame. This can be actually very difficult for most people, or depending on the lobby and what match you're in, blah blah blah. But it can be really difficult, especially if you're not on height. What you want to do is stay ahead of the storm at all times and look back at people who are rotating late. During moving zones, if you spray at somebody rotating and get a few shots off, you're extremely likely to get a storm kill later on, because when you spray at them while they're rotating, they're going to use up extra mats and possibly get themselves stuck, fall down. There's a lot of different scenarios that can happen, which have probably happened to you. I know they've happened to me, like when I get sprayed at. I actually have an example of somebody doing this to me, but I somehow managed to survive by being aggressive and taking height on the person. The last thing I want to mention is height. If you can get height during endgame, do whatever you can to keep it. Try to only be 2 to 3 tiles above the nearest build so you don't have to worry about people shooting you down. With height during endgame, you can literally control almost anything that happens while people are rotating. You can grief, third party, and overall inconvenience everybody that's around you. Alright guys, so I think that's going to be the end of the video. There's 5 arena tips, like 5 to 7 arena tips that you probably didn't know about, or something that you needed to be reminded of. I'm sure most people that watch this video probably learned 1 or 2 things. These are just things that I picked up on my own just by thinking and VOD reviewing on my own. And yeah, I hope they help you guys. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.